Going to be talking to Rolf from the RSPB here at the Monday night community show this evening. So firstly, welcome along to the show, Rolf. Good evening.
Good evening.
To start us off, could you give us a little introduction into the RSPB for us?
Yes, the Royal Society for Protection of Birds is the biggest conservation charity in Europe, as I believe, and I've just started working for them, so it's very exciting. And although birds is in the title, in fact, they're looking to conserve the environment and a whole range of species that are attached to those particular habitats that the RSPB is managing. And the RSPB currently has over 200 nature reserves around the UK, and most of those are designed not only just for the wildlife but also for people to have access to them and have an opportunity to get close to that wildlife in the beautiful countryside that we have.
Now, I know you wanted to talk about the Isle of Sheppey as a birding hotspot, Rolf.
It really is, yeah. No, I didn't know. I hadn't been to the Isle of Sheppey before, and I came down in the summer. And, of course, it's this wonderful, vast, rugged landscape, and really, really rich in bird life, and particularly in the winter months when tens of thousands of wildfowl and waders come down here for the winter from harsher climes further north to spend the winter in what doesn't seem like us, slightly better conditions, but actually compared to up in the Arctic, it is still marginally better down here. And I think in particular birds of prey, the Isle of Sheppey is one of the best places, if not the best place in the UK to see raptors, these wonderful birds of prey, out there right now, and you can be lucky enough on a good day to see 8 different species. So we've got falcons, we've got hawks, we've got buzzards, we've got harriers, and they're all hunting in different ways, trying to get themselves a meal.
I'm sure many of our listeners will certainly know this, but is the island a good place to see birds?
It really is, and we've been chatting about some of the wintering birds, but of course in summertime as well we get lots of migrants coming here again to nest out on the marshes. And what many people don't realise is that this idea of taking a particular arable land and converting it back into what we call a coastal grazing marsh, those wonderful wetland environments for birds, is a technique that the RSPB pioneered here on Sheppey at the Elmley site, the site that we currently lease. And over a period of decades we've managed to restore the value of that grassland to an environment where things like black-tailed godwits, redshank, lapwings and many other farmland birds, which have been greatly in demise in recent years, have come back, and you can enjoy seeing them going through their whole season, from nesting through to the young fledging and on the wing, and leaving before the winter weather sets in. It's a truly inspiring place, and I think it's the scale of the landscape and the huge skies above us that certainly connects with me and a lot of our visitors. But none of it is possible without the support of the members, and so it's a celebration not only for the wildlife that it returns in these places where it's protected and looked after, but also of the people who've made it happen, which is the members through their funding and the volunteers through their help. And Elmley and our other reserves in the North Kent marshes simply wouldn't function without the volunteer help.
You let me know actually that the RSPB has over 1 million members, I think.
It has, yeah, absolutely, and of course most of those are probably putting lots of food out for the birds this winter, which will be vital given how much of the land has been covered in snow in the last week, blocking many of those birds from their food source. A lot of the leftover seeds and such like from the summer and the autumn laying on the ground is just simply out of reach. So it's particularly been a harsh week for them as well as the rest of us, and so that support from the simplest way of putting some food out for the birds in your garden to the people who come down to the reserve each week and help us doing the land management and meeting our public in the summer and helping with the events and guided walks, absolutely invaluable. So the RSPB, part of why I enjoy working for it, is the wonderful people I get to meet through my engagement with them.
Now, Rolf, I know you encourage people to get out into the countryside. You certainly want to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Some people are a bit scared of getting out into the wilds, especially somewhere as remote as Elmley and even out further on the island. We have a raptor viewpoint at Capel Fleet on the east side of the island, and so, I mean, going to the country park's great. You know, you're sort of well looked after. You've got your toilets, cafeteria and such like. The reserves, the RSPB reserves in the North Kent marshes, a little bit more remote. But I encourage people to get out of their comfort zones and wrap up warm, get their wellies on and come out and go for a good hike through one of our nature reserves and really be out and get close to nature. So that's sort of the way we try to transition people through to the real wilds of our countryside.
Did you choose to work for the RSPB, Rolf?
Well, I've had quite a mixed background, and I've worked for many other charities. And what I liked about the RSPB is that what it aims to achieve, it does based on a good scientific foundation. So it tries to get the best information from rigorous research upon which to base its conservation objectives. And then with the money that it raises through the membership, they're really quite prudent about how they spend that, where they spend that, how it's prioritised, and I can see that it really makes a difference. So when I was thinking, who do I want to work for in conservation next, the RSPB really sort of rose to the top of the pile. And by going and visiting their reserves, as I'd been a member for many years, and seeing what was happening on the reserves, that just convinced me that if I put my efforts into this organisation, they really will make a difference for people and for the wildlife.
Our own radio station right here on the Isle of Sheppey. Rolf, what are the most challenging environments to explore?
Well, surprisingly, even our own terrestrial landscape and the wildlife that we're trying to preserve on places like Elmley and on the Isle of Sheppey are quite challenging. Just to understand the complexities of natural history, the way it interacts with itself and with people and their use of the landscape. And so we're always asking for people to send in their sightings of the wildlife, because that's really important to the science. But in some of the previous projects that I've worked on, the marine environment is the one that I'd chiefly been working in the past, trying to find out about the whales, the dolphins, the sharks, those sort of top predators that are indicators of what's happening further down the food chains. And of course, very much in the news at the moment with the unfortunate shark attack down there in the Red Sea, and a lot of awful reporting, and you see a lot of very bad sort of understanding of natural history when it comes to sharks. They always get it wrong. Really frustrates me. So the marine environment, spectacularly difficult to explore, a concealing environment, but that other unknown is getting into outer space, and people often argue, why bother if you're following the news again with the space shuttle trying to launch at the moment. It's because, in fact, we can do an awful lot of good Earth science from space. Satellites can look down at somewhere like the Isle of Sheppey and show us what's happening with the vegetation, where the water is, and changes in the landscape, and very much being used now as well through satellite tracking of birds, migratory birds such as geese coming down from Greenland, the high Arctic, into the UK, and people will have probably followed that through various popular TV programs such as the BBC's Spring Watch. So getting into space, that really the most hostile of environments, as much as it is still a great challenge, and people might say not worth the expense, vitally important, because it's from there we can really understand what's happening to our planet and some of the effects of human activity and how to mitigate against those.
We are talking to Rolf from the RSPB here at the Monday Night Community Show this evening. We've got the news coming up from the